Hey everyone, my name is Kent C. Dodds and I'm excited to talk with you about EpicReact.Dev and the performance workshop. So it's pretty great, don't you think, Cody? Yeah, it's terrific, I love it. And Cody helps out with all of the exercises that you go through. I've been thinking a lot about these workshops, and one of the things that so I actually just had a conversation with Joel Hooks yesterday for the Egghead podcast, and one thing that he mentioned was that the EpicReact.Dev workshops, it's not a course, it's a series of self-paced workshops. It's actually better than live workshops because you actually get to go at your own pace, but then you also get me for office hours, and you get a huge community of people who are all going through the same material. So yeah, that's what's really cool about EpicReact.Dev is that it's better than a live workshop, and like you have all the benefits of an actual live workshop, along with the benefits of like a course, which you can go at your own pace. So you have like real exercises that you can work through, real challenges, so you can actually remember this stuff. And then you can take it to the next level of like asking other people, having a big community of people to go through this stuff with. So I'm a big fan of this, obviously. Let's talk about the performance workshop here. So let me switch this over here. And we are going to go into React Performance here. So just as a bit of a recap, I'm doing a bunch of live streams on each one of these workshops. And so here next time in 24 hours, we're going to be doing the testing React apps workshop, and then we have suspense, and then build an epic React app, and then we'll talk about the expert interviews, and we'll end up with a final Q&A, and that's on the last day of the sale. So yeah, this is almost done, and then this will be a page just full of links to recordings of all these live streams. So fun stuff. And if you haven't already gotten your license to EpicReact.Dev, I suggest that you do so because it is great. And if you're not sure and you're like, I don't know, like maybe it's not great, then you can ask people in the Discord what they think, or you can ask people on Twitter what they think about it. And most of them will hopefully tell you that it's amazing. That's the goal anyway. And then actually there is a tour. I have a tour right here that you can go through and watch that. There's also a bit of a longer tour on YouTube, and then of course you have these live stream recordings where you can get a little bit more in depth of what's covered in each of the workshops. And then we just recently made the like intro or the welcome videos public. So I'm not sure whether we'll surface that in the homepage of the UI anytime soon, but yeah, you should have this available, and you can watch all of this and get an idea of what working through this workshop is like. So I'm going to just stick that in here. And yeah, the code sandbox alternatives. Yeah, we'll talk about that later probably. But without any further ado, let's dive in, shall we? So coming down here to React Performance, I believe I've got this open, React Performance. Let me get this open and running locally also. And yeah, and we can talk about what's covered. So the React Performance Workshop, here's the repository. Like all of the workshops, it's open source. You can go through this yourself, and you can contribute as well. So if you're into that, we've got a bunch of people who have just been super awesome and making improvements and things. So thank you to those of you who have done that. That's been just awesome. You're helping each other out going through this stuff. And yeah, you get this cloned, you start the server with npm start, and it'll pop up in your browser like this, and you can work through each one of these exercises just like all of the other ones. This one's actually pretty unique in the content itself and the types of exercises that you're doing. So most of the workshops require you to do a fair bit of coding, and you're working through things trying to figure out why different coding things aren't working. This one is different. This one is, I'm going to show you how to use tools. So there are actually two types of tools in when we were talking about performance with React. There's the tools that React gives you to optimize things, and then there's the tools that the browser gives you to know which one of those tools to pick up. So it's basically like you have a home project, you need to screw in a screw in one place, and you have two tools. You have a hammer and you have a screwdriver. And if you aren't sure which one of them is appropriate for the situation, you've never used a screwdriver or hammer before, then you might just reach for the hammer and start whacking it in. And yes, it sort of works, but it's not very effective, and you will have problems later on down the line. So I teach you both of the tools. I teach you what these optimizations do, and then I also teach you how to use the browser tools to identify which of those optimizations to reach for. Therefore, you actually don't have a whole lot of code changes in these exercises because it's pretty much just a matter of, okay, let's identify what the problem is and then apply the tool that's appropriate to solve that problem. So anyway, with that backdrop, we have the code splitting tool. So this mechanism for loading less code into the browser. I give you some background on how to use dynamic imports and how those operate with React and how you can use React.Lazy and React.Suspense. And then it's your job to make this thing happen. And you're going to spend a lot of time in the Chrome DevTools network tab on this one, getting an idea of how all of that works together. So yeah, and then you get this globe right here, and you'll want to enable geolocation so that it can find you on this globe, which I think is pretty cool. And then you can click around and it'll navigate around. That was Voigt's. This is Voigt's work. He's just a brilliant designer, and he built that all together. Initially, I had like a really simple little component, and it worked technically, but I wanted something more substantial so that when you saw code splitting, you could see like an actual useful impact out of this. And so he built this, and it's just awesome. I'm super happy with it. And you get to see like using the geolocation API and stuff. It's pretty cool. So yeah, in the final version, we load it asynchronously so that you're not loading it up all at once. And then we have some eager loading and Webpack magic comments to make it load even faster. It's pretty cool. I think you'll like this. Somebody actually just tweeted today about this particular exercise, how they liked that. So that's cool. Okay, so then we talk about use memo for expensive calculations. We've got some expensive calculations in here, and I show you what this tool is and how to use it effectively as like a performance optimization. So that's pretty fun. And then we have React.memo to avoid unnecessary re-renders, and this is where we talk about the life cycle of a React app, getting render, reconciliation, commit phase, and then state change happens again, and it just goes through again. So you get some idea of how React works under the hood and how React memo can be used to help that. And the extra credit here is kind of interesting because I show you how to make a custom comparator function, which is not something that you do very often, and it's easy to get wrong, but it can be useful for certain situations. And then the last extra credit is like, if you don't want to do something super complicated like this, then just change the way that your API works, and then it'll be a lot easier. So those two I expect plenty of light bulb moments there. And then we talk about windowing. Windowing is cool. You'll notice this is the exercise, and it took a second for this list to render. It's because we're rendering, I think it's like 16,000 cities in here, and it takes some time to render those DOM nodes. And so we can fix that with windowing, and it's pretty cool. And then we go into context and talk about how you can optimize that for situations when you have a lot of providers or sorry, a lot of consumers, and the provider changes on a regular basis, whatever. This one we get into separate context, which is actually another thing that I learned from Dan Abramoff, something that they do at Facebook. And so, yeah, that one's, I see people kind of reaching for this prematurely. I don't think that you need to optimize your context value all that often. It's really like, and in general, this is something I kind of repeat in the workshop, is that like React is really fast, and you don't typically need to reach for these optimizations. It's just sometimes, these are sometimes kind of things. And I show you the tools that you need to identify what the bottlenecks are, or if you even have bottlenecks. And then it's important to make sure that you measure before and measure after, and make sure that you actually made a positive impact. Because sometimes reaching for these optimizations can actually make a negative impact. So you want to be sure of that for sure. And then for our next one, we talk about perf death by 1,000 cuts. So like sometimes you just have so many things on the page that are consuming context that there's not really a single place where you can optimize things. And so we've got a lot of spots here. So we talk about recoil as like the last thing. It's like if you really are having some issues, then maybe recoil is a good solution for you. And yeah, we just a bunch of different ideas around how you can optimize this type of a scenario. So yeah, that one's pretty. This one's pretty cool. It ends up being like really fast. Thank you, Recoil, for being awesome. And then we get into production performance monitoring, which I think is pretty fascinating in its own right as well. We even talk about the experimental trace API as part of the extra credit, so that's pretty cool. And this is just like you ship something to production, you're feeling good about it, but then something happens and nobody knows that there's a really bad performance problem in the UI just because somebody changed, removed a memoization somewhere or something like that. And so this will help you identify those problems in production. Yeah, it's something that I think most companies should probably do and have set up. And you can take this data that React gives you about the performance of mount and update and whatnot, and take that, put it in a time series database and graph it up or something and have alerts off of regressions and stuff. And so that's what we talk about in the React Performance Workshop, and then we dive deeper into some of these things in the real world application, which I'll tell you more about in a future video. So yeah, that's React Performance. So with that, I think that I am done. I am totally happy to answer any questions people may have though, so let me bring over Discord. And if you have questions, then I will answer them, or I may redirect them to office hours because this is, I'm mostly focused on EpicReact and the performance workshop in particular. So if it's not related to those things, then I'll probably just ask you to switch off to office hours. So the first question, what is NRS? Yeah, so I do that, NRS, if that's an alias. So that is an alias for npm run start -s and then --. So it's basically npm start. That's what that does. Hey there, React newbie, welcome. 2 boot camps in about 5 months. Wow. How long how many hours will it take to complete each of the modules? To complete the first one? Yeah. So oh no, I see an HOC extra credit. That's fun. Yeah, so it kind of depends, but I do have the Learning Club template that kind of gives a suggested schedule. So here, let's find KCD Learning Clubs, Clubs Ideas. Here we go. So if you go to the Learning Clubs Ideas, you'll find this here, and I'll just paste that right there. Just go down to the EpicReact.Dev template and learn more about learning clubs. I'm not going to explain those here, but learning clubs are great. Go learn more about them. But yeah, so I say before your first meeting of your learning club, you can go through just the welcome video, and then we talk about React fundamentals, React hooks, and then so that's basically 1 a week is what I suggest. When I give these as a live workshop, each workshop is a 5-hour workshop with 1 hour worth of breaks spread in between. And so I expect these to take actually longer than that when you're doing it yourself, because when I give it as a live workshop, I often will skip over the extra credits, because if you have people workshopping for much longer than 5 hours, then their brains start to decay and everything. So we're limited. This is actually, I just tweeted today that EpicReact.Dev workshops are better than live workshops. And this is why. It's because I have to cut out material to make sure that people aren't missing, or like their brains don't die. You don't get fried. But with you can take a half-hour break anytime, or you could take an hour break, split things up. But I do recommend you'll be most effective if you just do 1 a week, especially if you're new. If you do more than that, it's harder to retain that information that you're learning. So with that, and then the build Epic React apps, I do kind of have you split it up in this schedule. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it however you want. But this is my recommended schedule, is to kind of split it up as you go so that you can, learn things in isolation and then learn it like the how those things apply in a real world application. And so yeah, this ends up taking about 14 weeks. So yeah, it'll take some time. It takes a lot of work to learn stuff. Okay, React fundamentals using JSX. We learn how to use Babel directly inside the body tag to compile the script tag with type or text Babel type. We also learned Babel creates the compiled code and put it in the head tag. Yes. I was wondering, how can the browser kind of read backward to see the code in the head tag when it's executing the body tag? Yeah. So the way that works is when you insert code in the browser in like a script tag, then the browser will actually evaluate that script tag. So like you can do this in your DevTools too. Like we could say, all right, head. Let's just do this just for fun. So let's make my script document create element script, and then script dot text content or inner HTML. We could do that inner text. There are so many ways to do the same thing in the browser. It's wild. So then we'll say alert. Oh no, you've been hacked. Okay, and then we'll say document dot head dot append script. And oh right, there's a actually this is a security vulnerability. Let's do it on the new tab page. I bet we won't have this problem here. So let's grab that. So it is a security vulnerability. So GitHub has configured their browser setting or their page so that the browser will not execute this type of script, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. But I don't think we've got that on the new tab page, so we'll try that right here. Okay, boom. No, rats. Okay, we'll get this. This is going to be interesting, I promise. We'll open up a new, or here, we'll just do it on this, because I don't have that set up here. Yeah, we could probably just do it right here. And we'll grab this. I'm going to put this all in the clipboard all at once. Okay, here we go. Right there. Boom. Bum-ba-da-dum. You've been hacked. So as soon as a script tag gets into the page, that script will be evaluated, assuming that the website hasn't done the proper thing with security, where you need to specify a nonce, which is basically like, this is a legit script tag. This isn't something that somebody's trying to hack, cross-site scripting vulnerability, whatever. So anyway, yeah, that's just the way the browser works. There's nothing special that Babel's really doing there or anything. So it's kind of interesting though. Fun stuff. Okay. How much testing React apps module dependent on testing javascript.com? Not at all. The thing is that the testing React apps can stand totally by itself. You will be benefited greatly by having experience with testing javascript.com, because testing javascript.com will give you fundamental experience with like what tests really are and how to what mocking really is, how all that works. So you get a much better foundation with testing javascript.com. Testing React apps doesn't give you that and kind of assumes that you have a general idea of what testing is all about. And then dives directly into how to test React code specifically. So testing JavaScript will give you a much better foundation. And then on top of that, testing JavaScript also teaches you how to configure all the tools that you'd need to be successful in testing. So testing React apps does not teach you how to configure any tools. So yeah, cool. I think we're coming down to the end of it here. So I'll wait just a second for any last minute questions. Yeah, there is a React Summit Discord. That's right. So if you're going to React Summit, enjoy that. It's going to be a good time. Okay, cool. I'm going to wrap it up. And just to reiterate, we're going to be talking about testing React apps tomorrow on the live stream. So look forward to that. yeah, it's going to be fun. And yeah, the sale is still going on, so don't miss that. It is going to be gone in 6 days and 13 hours. So grab it while you can. Talk to your boss and be like, hey, boss, do you like us shipping good code? And they will say yes. You say, we can ship good code and ship it better with EpicReact.Dev. Don't maybe say it like that, but just send them this and be like, read this thing, and if you think that it's a good idea for us to have, then give it to us. We want it. So anyway, thanks everybody. It's been good. It's been fun. We'll see you in the future. Goodbye.